Hey, good day. Michael Didier here. Thank you for joining me. Last week we covered Numbers 27:12 all the way through to Numbers 29. Finished Numbers 29. Numbers 27:12 started a discussion about Moses being gathered up to his people. He's going to die. Same way it says that Aaron died. He was there when Aaron died. Wonder if his heart rate went up when he heard that. How did Aaron perish? Did he just stop breathing? Did his heart just stop? What happened? Was it merciful? I'm guessing it was. He says, once again, that Moses has got to die and not go into the land for one very important reason. For in the wilderness of Zin, this is 14. For in the wilderness of Zin, during the strife of the assembly, you rebelled against my command to hallow me at the waters before their eyes. Moses was told to take the rod and speak to the rock. Have you ever wondered what he would have said to the rock had he spoke to the rock? Rock, bring forth water! Would that be impressive? Which is more impressive, to speak to the rock or to hit the rock? You're not doing anything to the rock except talking to it the second time. I want to remind you about some things. When Aaron died, Yehovah reminded us that they weren't going to go into the promised land because of this very thing. When they actually did this thing, they hit the rock. Moses hit the rock. Aaron got blamed for it too, I guess. He was there. They hit the rock instead of speaking to the rock. That happened there. Happened when Aaron died. He's reminding us here. He was setting up a shadow picture. I fully believe he was setting up a shadow picture for the last days, when there are going to be shepherds that are going to come who are going to do and speak with the word of their mouth. I want to show you a couple verses. This is one that I really like. This is in Isaiah 11. But with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and he shall decide with equity the meek of the earth. He is Israel's seed, those men that are being raised up from Israel's seed. It says, he shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall slay the wicked. Righteousness shall be the belt of his loins, and faithfulness the belt of his waist. These are shepherds that Yehovah is going to raise up in the last day, and these are some of the people that Yehovah, or that Moses, knowing that he's going to die, doesn't want to leave the seed shepherdless. Well, remember, this is the days that he brought us out of Egypt. No longer will they say, great is Yehovah who brought us out of the land of Egypt. Well, the second part of that verse is he's going to do it again. He's doing it here. But he's going to do it again. Moses, what a nice man. He says, let Yehovah, Elohim, Spirit, Elohim of all flesh, set a man over the assembly, who may go out before them and go in before them, who may lead them and bring them in, and that the assembly of Yehovah may not be like a sheep who have no shepherd. He's concerned about who's going to leave Israel. He's not concerned about himself. He's concerned about who's going to lead Israel. Well, Yehovah chose Joshua. Really, Moses, if you might say, apprentice. Remember, Joshua was the one who went up with him to the mountain 40 days at a time. I've got Let me see if I can find it. We're talking about leaving them shepherdless. Talking about speaking to the rocks. Which is greater, hitting the rock or speaking the rock? I think the speaking is much more impressive. In Jeremiah 23, he's talking about the shepherds. Woe to the shepherds who destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture. Thus says Yehovah, Elohim of Israel, against the shepherds who feed my people. You have scattered my flock, driven them away, not attended to them. Man, I was scattered. I tried to raise up, tried to show righteousness in the churches that I was in, even the Messianic churches. They didn't want to hear it. They love the doctrines and traditions of men, and they are scattering the sheep. Behold, I will tend to you the evil of your doings, says Yehovah. But I will gather the remnant of my flock out of the countries where I have driven them. Hear that? And bring them back to their folds, and they shall be fruitful. And I will set shepherds over them who will feed them. And they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, nor shall they be lacking. Behold, the days are coming, says Yehovah, that I will raise up to David a branch of righteousness. This is the same branch we're talking about in Isaiah 11. A twig and a branch shall grow out of his, I forget what it is, out of his something. In those days, Judah shall be saved. Oh yeah, and execute judgment and righteousness in the earth. Judgment and righteousness in the earth. In his days, Judah will be saved. Israel will dwell safely. Now, this is the name by which he, remember, we're talking about Israel's seed, the plural he. Let my son, my Bakor, go, that he may serve me. This is the son we're talking about. Now this is a name by which he, remember, plural he, will be called Yehovah, our righteousness. This is a group of men. But look at what it says now. Behold, the days are coming, says Yehovah, that they shall no longer say, as Yehovah lives, who brought up Israel's seed out of the land of Egypt, but as Yehovah lives, who brought up and led the descendants of the house of Israel from the north country, from all the countries where I have driven them. This is what we're talking about in the last days. These men are going to speak. How did it go? Speak. He, Israel's seed, shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall slay the wicked. I just get caught on this. How do Israel's seed, these men that Yehovah is raising up, it says, shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall slay the wicked. How do you do that? Father, they're coming against us. Father, blind them. Take away their breath. Let a few survive, just so they can tell the others. Learn to fear Yehovah. What do you think that would say to the men who are with us, who have joined us, when they can hear these men speak the word and see these men be slaughtered before their eyes? Oh my. Well, let's continue. I don't want to dwell on this too long. We talked about it some last week. He chose Joshua. He set up Joshua. Joshua is going to be the new shepherd. He inaugurated him. What was the word? Charged them. Next week, the next thing we talked about was all the korban that we're going to bring before Yehovah each week. The daily. Remember, morning and evening. The Sabbath, we're going to do things. The new moons, we're going to do things. And then he talked about all the feast days. where they overlapped, he mentioned the overlapping. Don't forget, on the Yom Teruah, we got to do the new moon celebration. But what it didn't say was on the first month, on the 15th of the month, he didn't say anything about a Sabbath. On the 7th month, on the 15th day of the month, he didn't say anything about a Sabbath. On the 22nd day of the 7th month, he didn't say anything about a Sabbath, which completely debunks the lunar Sabbath nonsense that people get involved in. Don't go there. It doesn't work. 6 days you shall work, and the 7th day you shall rest. 6-1, 6-1, 6-1, 6-1 is how Yehovah's system goes. Well, I'm not going to dwell on all the different things that we talked about. I want to go and begin with where we're going to start today. We're going to start talking about vows, I believe is where we're starting. Yes, vows. Starts in Numbers 30. Then Moses spoke to the heads, this is the princes of the tribes, concerning Israel's seed. Moses spoke to the heads, the princes of the tribes, concerning Israel's seed. Remember, it's always men who lead men. Moses is not talking to the women, he's talking to the men. The men lead men. We had leaders, princes. What are we talking about, princes? Are we talking about the 12 men? Probably. The head of each tribe? We could be talking about the 70 elders. Remember, Yehovah put his spirit in those 70 elders at one point. This is the thing which Yehovah has commanded. If a man, look at the word here, is ish, a man makes a vow, a neder. It's a vow, a promise. Yehovah makes promises. And when he does, oftentimes, he swears it by his own name. Have you seen that before? Here's just a few. I wrote an article about it. You can visit it there. It says in Jeremiah 22, but if you will not hear those words, I swear by myself, says Yehovah, that this house shall become a desolation. You know what? You better listen to Yehovah. What he says, he's going to do. And as his seed, what we say, we better do. We're the heir. Yehovah of hosts has sworn by himself. This is Jeremiah 51. Surely I will fill you with men as with locusts, and they shall lift up a shout against you. Here's Numbers 23:19. Elohim is not a man that he should lie, nor the son of Adam that he should repent. Has he said, and he will not do? Has he spoken, and he will not make it good? Well, that's not swearing by his own name, but it's letting us see that what Yehovah says, Yehovah will do. If a man makes a vow to Yehovah in the name of Yehovah, or swears an oath to bind himself to some agreement, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeds out of his mouth. You know, talk about the handshake. A man's word. You know, this is a man's word supposed to mean something. And if you're Yehovah's people, don't take his name in vain. Do what you say you're going to do. 3. Or if a woman makes a vow to Yehovah and binds herself to some agreement while in her father's house, in her youth, in her father's house, in her youth, talking about a daughter, and her father hears her vow and the agreement by which she has bound herself. This is a woman, an Isha, and an Isha. In her fathers. That's her fathers. Her fathers. And her father hears her vow and the agreement by which she has bound herself, and her father holds his peace. Then all her vows shall stand. Hear that? The father is the one who decides. Her covering is the one who's going to decide whether her vow is going to stand or not stand. Silence is agreement. There's a better word, but I can't come up with it right now. Silence is agreement. And her father hears the vow and the agreement by which she has bound herself, and the father holds his peace. Then the vow shall stand, and every agreement with which she has bound herself shall stand. It's consent. Silence is consent to what his daughter said. And her father hears the vow and the agreement by which she has bound herself, and her father holds his peace. Then all her vows shall stand, and every agreement which she bound herself shall stand. But if her father overrules her on the day that he hears, then none of the vows nor her agreement by which she has bound herself shall stand. And Yehovah will release her, because her father overruled her. Dare I say that a woman is more inclined to be led by her emotions, while men are more inclined to be led by what they see and what they understand. There's a better way to say that, but that's what I can come up with right now. Verse 6. And if indeed look at it, says she takes a husband. Here's what it says. And if she, I've got it in here twice. If she becomes to a man. Becomes to a man. Isn't that interesting? Becomes to a man. If she becomes. Why do I have becomes? I did it there too. If she becomes. Which one should I take off? If she becomes to an ish. Flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. She's becoming an ish. Remember, she is taken. That's what she is. She's not, it just says she takes. No, he takes. She becomes his. If she becomes an ish's. Becomes an ish's. This is talking about a wife, isn't it? If we're going to use the colloquial terms that we use these days, that, man, they just don't. There's so much baggage that goes with husband and wife. Massive amount of baggage. We've got to understand there's a difference between what's going on. We talk about, in the world, a husband and wife is a partnership. Is it a partnership? Who is leading whom? The wife has responsibilities, but the husband is the one where the buck stops. It's where the buck stops, isn't it? Her sin is his sin. In a sense, when she becomes an ish's, that's what it's saying there, becomes an ish's, she's gone. She's gone. She's in him. That said, if indeed she becomes an ish's, well, bound by her vows or by rash utterance from her lips, by which she bound herself, and her man, her ish, it says husband. What's the word there? Her ish hears it and makes no response. Oh, silence is golden. It's not golden. It's consent, isn't it? Hears it and makes no response to her on the day that he hears it. Then her vow shall stand, and her agreement by which she has bound herself shall stand. But if her man, again, her ish, overrules her on the day that he hears it, he shall make void her vow, which she took and what she uttered with her lips, by which she bound herself, and Yehovah will release her. You know, we can make some rash things, rash decisions, foolish decisions, things that have huge consequences by uttering a vow with our lips. I'm really talking about women. Men can do it too. That can change the whole family. Can't have it. This is the backup. This is what a covering is all about. Safety. We have neighbors next door. Just took a cat. Blind. Bad broken leg. Adopting a cat into their house. That would never happen in my house. But it's two ladies living next door. There's no protection. They need the protection. No, don't do it. Put the darn thing to sleep. Well, look what it says now. Also, any vow, a widow, or a divorced woman, by which she has bound herself, shall stand against her. A widow or a divorced woman. Somebody's missing there. Who's missing? How about the woman who's left her father's house and has no covering? What did the first one say? Said the woman who makes a vow while in her father's house, in her youth. What if she's old? What if she's left her father's house and she's in the world and has no covering? Are women supposed to be in the world without a covering? Who's there to protect them? Widow's got no choice. Her husband died. But now she still needs to find a covering. She may go back to her father's house. That's what was her name? The one that Judah took. Tamar. Tamar ended up going back to her father's house. Well, that's where Judah sent her. A divorced woman. Look at the word for divorced. Here's the word. The widow, bound in grief. Here's a divorced woman, the driven out woman. And a driven out woman. Driven out. That's what we're talking about. Driven out. Put away. Boy, I was reading this morning about Yehovah will judge her like a woman who breaks wedlock and sheds blood. Does that sound like maybe a woman's not supposed to break wedlock or shed blood? How do you shed blood? Shed blood by killing an animal? By killing anything? Women don't do it. Not your job. That's why men go to war, not ladies. Also, any vow of a widow, a divorced woman by which she has bound herself, shall stand against her. If she vowed in her husband's house, This is is this a summary? If in her Isha's house she vowed, this is what we're talking about, if in her Isha, or bound herself by an agreement, and her husband heard it and made no response to her and did not overrule her, then all her vows shall stand, and every agreement by which she bound herself shall stand. Well, this is almost reiterating it again, isn't it? But if her husband, her man, her ish, I said husband up here, it's her ish. If her ish, well, there it is. Silence on a man's part is not bliss. No response is consent. So bliss. And I said golden. It's not golden. It's bliss. It's not bliss. Silence is not bliss. It's consent. But if her man, her ish, truly made them void on the day he heard them, then whatever proceeded out of her lips according to her vows, or concerning the agreement binding her, it shall stand. Her man has made them void. It shall not stand. Her man has made them void, and Yehovah will release her. Look at, they had one verse for a man. They had one verse for the widow. Where did it go? One verse for the widow and the divorced woman. And all these other verses for those who are covered. Every vow and every binding oath to afflict her soul, her man may confirm it, or her man may make it void. Now, if her man makes no response, whatever to her from day to day, then he confirms all her vows, or all the agreements that bind her. He confirms them, because he made no response to her on the day that he heard them. But if a man does make them void after he has heard them, he shall bear the guilt. Hear that? After he hears them, now he's going to make them void. Now he's going to bear the guilt. He was silenced, and now he doesn't want to do it. No, there's going to be a guilt for that. But who's the guilt on? It's going to be on him. As bone of his bone and flesh of his flesh, her vows are his vows. She is he. These are the statutes which Yehovah commanded Moses between a man and his woman, and between a father and his daughter in her youth in her father's house. The uncovered widow and divorced woman is an exception to the rule. That's not a good thing, you guys. That's a bad thing. It's meant to keep you safe. You know, this has much deeper ramifications. Do we send our daughters off to school uncovered? How about elementary school? Uncovered. Man, it gets worse. It's almost worse in elementary school. No, probably not. Is that supposed to happen? We send our women away. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Let's go to the next chapter. This is really an interesting chapter. This is the war of Midian. Remember, we were talking way back in, what was it, 27? Let me see if I have it. 25. Here's 25. And Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, take vengeance on the Midianites for Israel's seed. Remember, they were the ones who caused us to sin. Look what it says here. This is Numbers 25. And the name of the Midianite woman who was killed was Cosbi, the daughter of Zur. He was head of the people of his father's house in Midian. Remember, he was one of 5 kings in Midian. Making and taking this woman could be construed as making a covenant between Israel's seed and Midian's seed. That ain't gonna happen. Remember, that's what happened with Esau and Seir the Horite. Took Esau's son, Eliphaz, and Seir's daughter, I forget what her name was, Timnah, something like that. They joined, and that was a union that was created. Then Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, harass the Midianites and attack them, for they harassed you from their schemes by which they seduced you in the matter of Peor and in the matter of Cosbi, the daughter of the leader of Midian, their sister, and was killed in the day of the plague because of Peor. Remember the plague. It wasn't the day of the plague. It was the day of the striking. Yehovah commanded the princes of Israel, the leaders of tens, the leaders of 50s, the leaders of hundreds, the leaders of thousands, to kill his men who bowed their knees to Peor, Lord Peor. Don't do it. Don't follow other Elohim. Don't bow down to them. Well, the next chapter after that, 28, we numbered Israel. Now, finally, we're going to attack the Midianites. This is what this chapter is about. Take vengeance on the Midianites for Israel's seed. Afterwards, you shall gather your people. So Moses spoke to the people. Remember the people. Who are we talking about? The people. He's not talking to the ladies. He's not talking to our servants. He's not necessarily even talking to the ger. We will talk to the ger. So Moses spoke to the people, saying, arm yourselves, arm some of yourselves for war, and let them go against the Midianites to take vengeance for Yehovah on Midian. You are trying to take my people. There's a penalty for that. 1,000 of each tribe from all Israel's tribes you shall send to war. So there were recruited from Israel's divisions 1,000 from each tribe, 12,000 armed for war. These are all men who are going to war. Remember, most of our tribes, they had 40, 50, even up to 70,000 men. This is 1,000 from each tribe that's going. Really quite a small percentage. 12,000 men are going to go to war with Midian. Then Moses sent, this is shalach. Moses sent, I always like to see this word used, sent them out. Sent them to the war, 1,000 from each tribe. He sent them to the war with Phinehas, ben Eleazar, the priest, with the holy articles. The holy articles, which are the holy articles? I'm guessing we're not talking about the Ark of the Covenant. I think we're talking about the holy articles, or those are the things that perhaps Phinehas is wearing, the son of Eli. No, Phinehas with the holy articles and the signal trumpets in his hands. The signal trumpets are the silver trumpets that the priests blow. What are the holy articles? I can't imagine Eleazar, it didn't go. Phinehas, his son, went. The Phinehas is representing the priests, I would assume. Remember, he was zealous for my zealousness, it said, when he killed Cosby and the man of Israel, Zimri. What articles is he taking? Holy articles. Is he taking the lampstand? Is he taking the table of showbread? Doesn't make sense. What holy articles can he take? Talked about the signal trumpets. All right, well, they're not part of the tent of Moed. It says, and they warred against the Midianites, just as Yehovah commanded Moses, and they killed all the males. Killed all the males. Males, here's the word that we're talking about, Zakar. The males. They killed the kings of Midian with the rest of those who were killed. Evi, Rechem, Zur, there's Zur. That's Cosby's father. Hur and Reba, the 5 kings of Midian. Got them all. Balaam, the son of Beor, they also killed with the sword. Finally, Balaam comes to an end. And Israel's seed took the women of Midian captive. The women of Midian captive with their little ones, and took as spoil all their cattle, all their flocks, all their goods. Here we got the kings, just to remind you. And the name of the Midianite woman who was killed was Cosby, the daughter of Zur. He was the head of the people of his father's house in Midian. So now we had the verse we just read. Here's what Yasher had to say about that. I think it's kind of interesting. And Moses did so. And Israel's seed chose from amongst the 12,000 men, being 1,000 to a tribe. And they went to Midian. And Israel's seed warred against Midian, and they slew every male. Also the 5 princes of Midian. And Balaam, the son of Beor, did they slay with the sword. And Israel's seed took Midian's women captive, and their little ones, and their cattle, and all belonging to them. Took who? The women? The Toph? These are boys and girls. Their cattle? Didn't say anything about the flocks. The goats, the sheep, they did, I'm sure. And all belonging to them. Silver, gold, precious stones. These are the things that we're taking for ourselves. Read this one. And Israel's seed took Midian's women. Midian's women. Their women. Captive, and their little ones. And all their flocks. All their cattle. And, oh, that does say in flocks. Cattle. Does it say flocks? 31:9. Yeah, flocks. Cattle and flocks, and all their goods. All right, it does say that. All their goods for plunder. Midian's women, Toph. Here's the Toph. It's their Toph. This is Toph. The mem says there. This is the men's Toph. The men's. We're always talking about men. These are the people that the men own. Their women, their children, their flocks, their herds. Their plunder. They also burned with fire all the cities where they dwelt. And their forts. Remember, they're not going to be dwelling there anymore, are they? We're not going to take Midian's land. We're just going to destroy Midian's land. Now, therefore, kill every male among the little ones. This is Numbers 31:17. Actually, we're going to get to this, so... When do we ever leave a foreign woman who has known a man alive? It doesn't happen that I can think of anywhere. They also burned They burned with fire all the cities. These are the guarded places and the strongholds. Cities. Ayar. Cities. Here's guarded places. Tara. Fortress. Wall. They took all the spoil and all the booty of man and beast. That's in Adam and in beast. It says livestock. Livestock is probably a better understanding. The word is behema. Here's the word right here. Behema. We're talking about 4-footed animals. Beast. They took all spoil. This is the they want to say booty. Spoil. Sounded like the booty might be the Adam. Well, here, it's out here. They took all the booty and the beast. This is 12. And they brought the captives, the booty, and the spoil to Moses, to Eleazar the priest, and to all Israel's seeds assembly. All Israel's seeds assembly. Took the spoil. Shalah. The booty. Malka'ak. Do all the draws. Taking of food, spoils. They brought the captives, the booty, the spoil, to Moses, to Eleazar the priest, and Israel's seeds assembly, to the camp of the plains of Moab by the Jordan, across from Jericho. What happened when we got there? Look what's happened. And Moses, Eleazar the priest, I always think it should say Eleazar, comma, the priest, and all the leaders of the assembly went to meet them outside the camp. Why did they go outside the camp to meet them? Is it because we're unclean now because of the killing that we did? Remember, the man who touches a dead person, or kills somebody, can't go back in the camp until he's made clean. These are the unclean. These are all unclean from touching dead and cannot come into the camp. So Moses and Eleazar come out to them. Actually, Moses, Eleazar, and the leaders, the princes of the assembly. Remember in Numbers 19, we talked about the red heifer and touching the dead or being around the dead. What did we talk about in, this is 31:19. Yeah, we're going to talk about it in just a second. Let me get there. Went to meet them outside the camp. But Moses was angry with the officers of the army, with the captains over thousands and the captains over hundreds who had come from the battle. He's ticked. What have you done? Listen to what he says they did. And Moses said to them, have you kept all the women alive? Have you kept all the women alive? Wow. Is that something that in today's mindset that we would ever ask? Have you kept all the women alive? Of course, we're not fighting for Yehovah. We're fighting for the United States of America, a corporation. Or if you're in other countries, you're fighting for those countries, not for Yehovah. But there was a striking. Why did I put that? There was a striking among Yehovah's assembly. I maybe have that in the wrong verse. I probably should have had that in 16. I put, hello? Have you kept all the women alive? What's wrong with you? Look, these women caused Israel's seed through the counsel of Balaam to trespass against Yehovah in the incident of the plague. And there was a striking, there it is right there, among Yehovah's assembly. I've got it on the wrong verse. It's cut. Let's put it here. Paste. There was a striking among the assembly. These are the women that caused that. Now, therefore, kill every male among the little ones. Hear that? We're not even going to keep the little boys alive. And kill every woman who has known a man intimately. Can't use them. Don't need them. Who are we going to keep alive? So they did kill every male. This is every male before, but they left the Zakar Toph alive. Oh, this is what we were talking about before. Every male from among the little ones, they kept the women. So they did kill every male before, but they left the Zakar Toph alive. I must just be talking about what they had done before. Now they have to die, as well along with as they have to die as well. Now they have to die. Sorry, I got some punctuation. So they have to die as well, along with all the women. Along with all the women who have known a man by lying with him. But look what he says. But keep alive for yourselves all the young girls who have not known a man intimately. We're going to keep the virgins alive. He says, and as for you, remain outside the camp 7 days. Here it is. You're unclean. You got to stay outside the camp for 7 days. Whoever has killed any person and whoever has touched any slain. You took the slain's earring. You took the slain's nose ring. You took the slain's wallet. You touched the dead. Nothing wrong with that. But you touched the dead, now you got to be cleaned. Purify yourselves and your captives on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. Everybody's got to be made clean, even our captives. This is after we kill the women who have known a man and all the boys. His ways are not our ways, are they? There is a way that seems right to a man, but the way is destruction. Keeping these boys alive, would we be dealing with the potential for vengeance, leading us in ways we shouldn't go? The virgin girls we can teach. Lead in the way that they're supposed to go. They follow us, their master. Talking about yesterday places, or maybe it was last week we were talking about married. No, it was the daughters of Zelophehad. We were talking about becoming a man's. Their possession, the women. Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's continue. He says, purify every garment. First, what are we doing? For purifying yourselves and your captives. Remember, yourselves. These are all men that were purified, that had to be purified. There were no ladies that went to war. And your captives. On the 3rd day and on the 7th day. Well, that's how we do it. That's what we learned in Genesis, Numbers 19. You had to do it on the 7th day and on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. Purify every garment. everything made of leather, everything woven of goat hair, and everything made of wood. Then Eleazar the priest said to the men of war who had gone to the battle, "This is the ordinance of the law which Yehovah commanded Moses." Who's saying this? This is Eleazar who's saying this. What did he say? Purify everything. What did he say? Leather, goat's hair, things made of wood, purify everything. He says, he continues, this is the ordinance Yehovah commanded Moses. Only the gold, the silver, the bronze, the iron, the tin, and the lead, everything that can endure fire, you shall put through fire. Hear that? If it can be melted and not destroyed, we're going to put it through the fire. Everything that may abide fire, ye shall make go through fire, and it shall be clean. Howbeit the water of Nadah, remember that's the water of Nadah that purifies, and all that can abide the fire shall go through the waters. All that cannot abide the fires will go through the waters. So we have two ways of doing things. The best is to have it go through the fire. If it can't go through the fire, it's going to be destroyed in the fire. If it's wood, cloth, goat hair. What was the first one? Leather. Don't do it. Don't put it through the fire. Cleanse it with the waters. All that cannot endure the fire shall be put through the waters. And you shall wash your clothes on the seventh day and be clean. And afterwards you shall come into the camp. Now Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, look at this. Count up the plunder that was taken of man and beast. We had plunder and we had spoil. To me, it seems like the plunder is the man and beast. Really, man and beast. It says Adam and Behemah. But this Adam is the women, the virgin women, isn't it? Divide the plunder into two parts. Well, count up the plunder that was taken of man and beast. And Eleazar the priest and the chief fathers of the congregation, and divide the plunder into two parts between those who took part in the war. These are the 12,000 men who went out to battle, and all the congregation, all the assembly. This is all the rest of Israel's assembly. We're going to divide it into two parts. And levy a tribute for Yehovah on the men of war. These are the 12,000 men. We're going to put a levy, a tribute to Yehovah, who went out to battle. One of every 500 of the persons, the cattle, the donkeys, and the sheep. Take it from their half and give it to Eleazar the priest as a heave offering. That word heave offering is a teruah, as a tribute or portion, as a heave offering to Yehovah. It says heave. As I probably should have put this in red, because this word we're offering is not even there. It's just another added word, but we're talking about as a tribute, as a gift, as a present, perhaps you could say it. There it is, a present to Yehovah. A present to Yehovah. But it's going to go to who? Eleazar the priest. He's Yehovah's representative. So this is one in every 500 of persons, of cattle, of donkeys and sheep. We're going to give it to Eleazar, not to the priests, to Eleazar. Maybe it's going to go to the priesthood as well. Maybe that's his decision. Then look what it says. And from Israel's seeds, half, remember, half of the booty went to what did he say? Half of the booty. He didn't say half of everything else. Take half, divide the plunder into two parts. The plunder into two parts. Count up the plunder, man and beast. This is not the spoil. The 100 or the people who went, the 12,000 men from each tribe that went, are going to keep the spoil for themselves. So what's going to happen with Israel's seeds portion? And from Israel's seeds half, you shall take one of every 50, drawn from the persons, the cattle, the donkeys, the sheep, from all livestock, and give them to the Levites, who keep charge of the tent of Yehovah. Well, the tabernacle probably is the Mishkan of Yehovah, I would guess, the way they're phrasing that right there. Let's take a quick look. See if it's tent or Mishkan. I'll bet it's Mishkan. The Mishkan. There it is right there, the Mishkan. Okay. Take care of the Mishkan of Yehovah. This is Yehovah's residence. To take care of Yehovah's residence. This is what the Levites do. So Moses and Eleazar, the priest, did as Yehovah commanded. Okay, I want to take a look now. We said 1 in every 500 of persons, cattle, donkeys, sheep. Ooh, donkeys are included in there too, aren't they? Sheep, zaon, are sheep and goats, of course. That's not sheep. It would be zaon that we're talking about there. Here's a thing I put together to help you see it. This is kind of interesting. Let's bring this out to right there. All right. Okay, each group gets 50% of the man, of the Adam. This is the Adam. Remember, there's no men. All the boys are gone. We're talking about Adam. Flesh, men, and beasts taken in the war. These are possessions that Israel's seed is going to take for themselves. Some, by conquest, they're going to get the greater portion. The warriors are going to get half of the sheep, the zaon, there's the word zaon there. 37,000, they're going to divide up between 12,000 warriors. 36,000, they're each going to get, 3 cattle. Almost each are going to get 3 donkeys. And they're going to get 1 to 2 virgins each for their families. This is the warriors' portion. Now, the warriors' portion now, remember, they were supposed to give 1 in every 500 to Yehovah, to Eleazar. That means of all of the things that Eleazar is going to get, he's going to get 675 sheep, 72 cattle, herd, that would be male and female, of course. Donkeys, 61. And virgins, he's going to get 32 virgins. 32 women. Where are they going to be? What is he going to do with them? They're servants. Remember, there's 2 different kinds of female servants. One seems to work outside. One seems to work inside among the family. You know, if you see a beautiful woman, a captive, someone taken captive, this is the captive that we're talking about. In fact, I think I have that in here. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, let's talk about then the people in general. So the people in general, people, 588,000. Oh, that's how many people are left. We had 600,000 men. So I take 12,000 away. We're dividing 538,000 with flocks, 337,500, cattle, 36,000, donkeys, they're going to get 30,000, and then the virgins. But now we got Levites. Remember, they're going to give a portion of the booty to the Levites, 1 in every 50. That means that the Levites are going to get 10 times more than Eleazar is going to get. You know, I tend to think that it must be Eleazar and his family. It just says Eleazar, but it seems like it's got to be the priests. It seems like it'd be the rest of the priests. He's the head of that clan. There's not that many of them right now. 6,750. How many Levites were there? I think we were looking at 30,000, 40,000 Levites the last time we counted them. Somewhere in there. 720 cattle, 610 donkeys, and virgins. Probably are going to divide these up between families, I would guess. When you have so much less, you can almost do it between men, but maybe they do it between families. That would almost make more sense. How can we do that equitably? Okay, let's continue with where we left off here. I'm going to back this up. And I'm not sure I had it in a good spot. I didn't set it up today. I should have set it up better. That's right where I want it. Okay. The tabernacle of Yehovah, the Mishkan of Yehovah, Yehovah's residence. 31. I'm not sure why I have this on here. All the congregation, all the assembly, and Israel's seed are synonymous. They are synonymous. S-O-C-M-L-Y. And Israel's seed are synonymous. They're the same group of people. They are all men, and only the spiritually born men can hold property. Again, see 10 to the 10th commandment. Remember the 10th commandment. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, his woman, his servants, his ox, or anything that is thy neighbor's. They're all possessions, aren't they? Okay, so he says, so Moses and Eleazar, the priest, did as Yehovah commanded Moses. The booty remaining from the plunder which the men of war had taken was 675,000 sheep, 72,000 cattle, 61,000 donkeys, 32,000 persons in all, of women who had not known a man intimately. This is the Adam that we were talking about, women who had not known a man intimately. Virgins of all ages. What became of them? Here's what becomes of them. Some are going to become servants. They are used to raise up more males and female servants. Go figure. This is what we do with our servants. We make them productive just like we do with our goats, just like we do with our cattle. Now, these are the judgments which you shall set before them. If you buy a Hebrew servant, this is a Hebrew servant. This is a man who's already a Hebrew, an Israelite. He shall serve you 6 years. When you've gone into debt, you're going to buy him and help him out. At the end of 6 years, he shall go out free and pay nothing. If he comes in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master has given him a woman, this is what's going to happen. And she has borne him sons or daughters. The woman and her Yeladim shall be her masters. He shall not, and he shall go out by himself. But if the servant plainly says, I love my master, my women my woman, and my, it actually says sons. I will not go out free. Then his master shall bring him to the judges. He shall also bring him to the door of the doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. If a man sells his daughter, now this is a man, this is a Hebrew man, sells his daughter to be a female slave, probably Amah. She shall not go out as the male slaves do. Once she's there, she's always there. He can sell her, but she's always there. She doesn't go out at the end of 7 years. Here's another thing that could happen to the woman. Remember, we're taking in these servants, these virgins. We use them to raise up more servants. Here's the other thing that happens. When you go to war against your enemies, and Yehovah, your Elohim, delivers them into your hand, and you take them captives, and you see among the captives a beautiful woman, and desire her, and would take her to be your woman. This is where they always want to put wife. It doesn't say wife, it says woman, your woman. Then you shall bring her home to your house, and she shall shave her head, trim her nails. She shall put off her clothes of her captivity, remain in her house, and mourn her father and mother a full month. Hear that? This is what's going on. These women that were taken, we see someone beautiful. I want to have that as my woman. We're going to cut her nails, trim her hair. Well, actually, she's going to do that. And she shall shave her head, trim her nails. Why is she shaving her head? Because she's got no head covering. Trim her nails so she doesn't hurt anybody. Put off the clothes of her captivity. Boy, does that mean she's going to have no clothes? Or does that mean she's only going to have the clothes that you give her? Probably the latter. Clothes of her captivity, remain in your house and mourn her father and mother for a full month. After that, you may go to her and be her man, and she shall be your woman. This is going to be a concubine. She's coming from the servants' quarters. This is not a free woman. This is going to be a concubine. And it shall be, if you have no delight in her, then you shall set her free. But you certainly shall not sell her for money. You shall not treat her brutally, because you have humbled her. Let her go. Let her go for free. What is she going to do? What's the plight of a woman who gets let go for free? Where is she going to go? Back to her own land? A whore in this land? Pretty limited possibilities, wouldn't you say? Because you have humbled her. Here's another one. And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we shall eat our own food, wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by your name to take away our reproach. This is about getting a head covering. Women have got to have a head covering. This is how we have a relationship. This is how they have a relationship with Yehovah, is through their man, whether it be a master, whether it be an uncle, a brother, a husband, her man. Remember, a woman doesn't bring anything to the tabernacle. She doesn't bring a kata'ah. She doesn't bring an olah. She doesn't bring a shalamim. She doesn't shed blood. The man has to do that. And what he has, she has. The position that he has, when this man becomes an heir, an Ezra man, a son of Elohim, she becomes a daughter of Elohim. Well, I know these aren't things that people want to hear for the most part. Here's a thing I put together on head coverings. Really important stuff. I'll let you go there. Okay, let's go to 36. And half the portion for those who had gone to war was 337,500 sheep. Okay, these are what I put together already. Same deal. 3,537 sheep. These were the ones who had gone to war. The cattle was 36,000. There it is right there, 36,000, 16. The donkeys, 30. Persons, 16,000. Those were the virgins. So Moses gave the tribute, which was Yehovah's terumah, to Eleazar the priest, as Yehovah commanded Moses. And from Israel's seed's half, Moses took one of every 50, drawn from man and beast, and gave it to the Levites, who kept charge of Yehovah's tabernacle, his residence, his mishkan. Then the officers. Now remember, the officers, here's the officers who were over thousands of the army, the captains of thousands and the captains of hundreds. These are the men who were in trouble when Moses said, why did you leave these women alive? Why did you leave these male tough alive? I told you to kill all the males. Look what's going on with these guys. Then the officers who were over thousands of the army, the captains of thousands, the captains of hundreds, came near to Moses. And they said to Moses, your servants have taken count of the men who went to war, who were under our command, and not a man of us is missing. Everyone survived the war. Ooh, isn't that the way you want to see the war go if you're going to fight for Yehovah? Nobody dies. Everybody lives. Your servants, your Avadim, have taken account of the men who went to war. It's the men who went to war. Yeah. Men, Ish. Ish. The war is Ish. All right. It's men. Ladies don't go to war. Oh, everybody's got so many ladies that have, I'm a soldier for the Lord. I'm a fighter for the Lord. Warrior for the Lord. No, you're not. You're pretending to be a man, and you're not a man. Learn to do the things that a woman was created to do, and you'll find the safety that you need. Your servants have taken count of the men who are under our command, and not a man of us is missing. Praise Yehovah. Therefore, we have brought an offering to Yehovah. We have brought a korban to Yehovah. Their offering is used correctly in that one. They did actually use it correctly. Of what, or from what, or of what a man has gotten ornaments of gold, chains, bracelets, an offering of what, from what. I'm guessing from what, not of what. From what would mean a portion of that was given from each man, of what a man has gotten. Ornaments of gold, chains, bracelets, earrings, bars, for covering over our souls before Yehovah, or by Yehovah. This is a bargain or a thanks. They gave from their gold the best things they got. Best things they got to Yehovah. Why? I put the answer is here in verse 54. Let's see what verse 54 says. The men of war had taken spoil, everyone for himself, and Moses and Eleazar the priest received the gold from the captains of thousands and of hundreds, and brought them into the tabernacle, a memorial for Israel's seed before Yehovah's face, a memorial a remembrance. They're grateful that no one died, I think. All right. So Moses and Eleazar, the priest, received the gold from them, all the fashioned ornaments, and all the gold offering that they offered to Yehovah from the captains of thousands and the captains of hundreds was 16,750 shekels. Remember, what they were just talking about here. We were talking about the armlets, ornaments of gold. Ornaments of gold. There's ornaments of gold. What ornaments are we talking about? We're talking about armlets, bracelets, signet rings, earrings, necklaces. What happened to that stuff? This is gold, silver, tin. It had to be what? Before it was brought back into the camp. It had to be melted. Now, we're talking about bringing this gold and all the gold of the offering they offered to Yehovah from the captains was 16,750 shekels. Did they melt it down into shekels, perhaps? The men of war had taken spoil. There's the spoil. Every man for himself. The men who went to war got to keep the spoil that they got. From the booty, they had to share it, but from the spoil, they got to keep it. Find a golden vase, a silver brooch, it's yours. You got to melt it down and deal with it, but it's going to be yours. And Moses and Eleazar, the priest, received the gold. I'm going to take my notes here. The presents they lifted, and the gold of the offering, the gold of the tarumah, of the presents, they offered, they lifted to Yehovah from the captains of thousands and the captains of hundreds. They're going to lift it up to Yehovah. Incidentally, there's the men of war had taken spoil, every man for himself. Every man got it. That's why I say, you're going to touch the dead, you're going to be taking the valuables from the dead. And Moses and Eleazar, the priests, received the gold from the captains. As a memento, as a zikron is the word that they're using there, a memento of Israel's seed before Yehovah. In this context, this is a thank you to Yehovah from Israel's seed that no one died. Yeah, zikron, a remembrance, a record. And Moses and Eleazar, the priests, received the gold from the captains of thousands and the captains of hundreds and brought it into the tent of meeting as a memorial, as a zikron for Israel's seed before Yehovah. Okay, I'm ready to do this one on the land that's going to be given to Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh. But I think we've gone long enough today. It's an hour and 24 minutes. Let's stop here and we'll continue doing it next week, shall we? So that means next week we'll be talking about Reuben's seed, and these are the journeys. Aaron dies, last instructions. These are things that are happening, reminding us about where we've been, where we came from. Some interesting stuff. Some mistakes. We'll see there's mistakes in Torah. There's lots of mistakes in Torah. There's worse mistakes in Deuteronomy. And then at the end, Moses is going to die. Last words of Moses. Yeah, we're almost done with this, you guys. We've already done chapter 36. We just have 3 or 4 more chapters to go. We'll be finished with Numbers. Wow. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. All right. Hey, thank you for joining me today. We'll see you again next week. Bye now.